Good day, man. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Are you for this panel? What about you, sir? Are you for the panel? Are you a panelist? You just not for the space. Excellent.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can anyone hear me?
Are you talking to us on Zoom?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. I think we can.
Okay, so I suggest you start because currently we don't have people here in person. So you can start the section already.
Okay, 1 second.
All right.
Let me just check on my co-panelist, okay?
Yeah.
Let me just.
Bolu, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
I'm going to get out of it and I'll come in again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I think as the chair of the panel and your panelists are all available online, I guess it will be a virtual meeting. But we are going to be having our physical attendees coming in later, while the session is going on. Well, for the meantime, to save time, since the panelists are all online and think they are complete, the chair is here. Kolade Olubi is also here, so we can kickstart. I hope I'm very clear.
No, you're very clear, but I can only see one other person online, right? Like Kolade Olubio's screen, and who else? There's no one else here. Now I see Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nathaniel is also a panelist. The legacies of Osho Chase system in Eastern Nigeria. Yeah. Then Kolade is still here, right? Kolade will be speaking on examining the Umala. I know. Let me just be sure that they are the ones. So, as the chair of the panel, you have the,
You have the floor. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I hear that. I'm just waiting for my co-panelist, Mary. She was here a minute ago.
Yeah, can you hear me, Bolu?
Okay. Are you here?
I'm actually here. I don't know why it's black. It's black.
Okay.
And it's showing your name.
Yes.
So I think you should just go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't see you.
Yeah, I don't know why too.
Okay. That's strange. Anyway, so thank you all for being here. It's nice to finally meet you. Kolade and Oladuni and Nathaniel John. So my name is Bolu Akinro. I'm happy to meet you all finally, but online and not in person. I guess since we're the only ones here, I'm not sure I need to go into a lengthy introduction since we already did that online. So how about we just go into the presentations? and start. I do not see Patience Kolade online. Is that just me, or is she really not here? Mary, do you see any other participants?
I don't.
Because
No.
you're supposed to go first. Okay, so I can go ahead with the
Yes.
second presentation
Yeah,
then.
that'll be fine.
Right? Okay. So please, Kolade and Oladuni, you have the floor.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Good afternoon, everyone. I guess you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kolade Olubio, and sitting beside me is my co-presenter. Her name is Mary Oladuni Ulabi. So we are going to be talking on forced migration, internal slavery, and identity crisis in northeastern Yoruba land, Nigeria. Basically, the work is to draw the intersection between forced migrations and internal slavery and the legacy which it has left in some societies for over a century. In Africa, war and migrations were very, very rampant in the pre-colonial period. In many African societies, this was triggered forced migrations, displaced people from their ancestral land, and they hurriedly left to a safer place, and they never returned to their land or to their ancestral land. The displaced persons sought refuge in a safer abode or community. They became estranged and alienated culturally. In fact, in some societies, they became slaves in the community of their refuge as they were acquired by the bourgeoisie group, or some eminent personality acquired them and they became property for them to do many jobs. Among the northeastern Yoruba land, such was the situation. The people who we refer to as the northeastern Yoruba people are currently occupying the Kogi West Senatorial District. We sometimes call them the Okun Yoruba people of Kogi State. Some people refer to them as the Okun people. Some people call them the Yoruba-speaking group of Kogi State. These people, they are also segmented into a sub-dialect. We have the Jumu people, the Gbede people, the Oworo people, the Owe people, the Yagba people, etc. So by 19th century, the whole of the northeastern Yoruba land was ravaged with the Imperial War. The Imperial War ravaged this land, and many people ran away from their ancestral land. When they ran away from this ancestral land, they became refugees in their neighborhood or in their neighboring communities. As a result of that, the war that lasted for over 4 decades, particularly from 1840 up to 1890s, they couldn't go back to their ancestral land, and they became alien in the foreign land or in their neighboring communities. But because of the complexities surrounding the socio-cultural settings of their host community, they could not be integrated. Like I mentioned earlier, some of these people, we call them the fugitives, they ran away from their land to take refuge in another man's land. They became alien and they could not be integrated. The traditional rulers, the powerful in those communities, they acquired them and they were doing many jobs for them, like farming, like guards, cleaners, etc. In fact, they associated themselves with some of these families, but over a period of time, when these people supposed to integrate them into the mainstream of the society, they were not integrated. So this has become an intergenerations problem that has caused identity crisis among the people. Yes, how has this one played out? It has played out in many ways. For instance, this group of people, there was what we call social exclusions. In the first place, they cannot take the paramount titles within the communities where they live in. That is number one. Number two, they cannot as well attain the paramount titles. For instance, I can cite example the Obarov, for the paramount chiefs, Obarov Kaba. They can never become the Obarov Kaba. They can never become the Olujumo of Ijumu, the Olugbede of Igbede or whatever. So because they are not regarded as part of them. That is one. Number two, they don't have ancestral land. They lived on rented land for farming till now. And number three, intermarriages is not encouraged. In fact, when children of the so-called freeborns attempt to take wife among them, they see it as a taboo, and that is not encouraged at all. And it has never happened. But on the other hand, for them not to lose out, they gave them certain titles that are not as weighty as the one taken by the people, the freeborns. For instance, the masquerade festival among these people is often celebrated by the so-called non-freeborns or those aliens. Two, there are other festivals that are being celebrated by them, but those festivals seems to be very, very inferior to the land because they do not see them as part of them. However, over the period of time, like I mentioned, the descendants of the non-freeborn, they have come to meet these strong institutions. And certain things are playing out. One, civilizations is playing out. Two, education is also playing out. The descendant of this non-freeborn, they have acquired quality educations and they have rose to prominent positions in the society. Some of them are in the military, some of them they have risen in the civil service and they have attained the certain positions and they are beginning to challenge the status quo. And that status quo is the segregation, the borderline of freeborn and non-freeborn. They are already challenging it, and if it is not well handled, it may lead to violence among these people. So, like I mentioned, the descendant of this group, they have come up of age. In most cases, you hardly see them even marry within the open communities. They go out of the communities to marry, go to Ikiti, go to Osun, go to Ijebu, go to even the non-Yoruba speaking group to take wives. And they don't want to be accepted, or they don't want to, no, they don't accept, or they don't want to accept the status quo, the status quo any longer. What are the implications of this? The implication of this is that there is a serious identity crisis among these people. Wherever there is a gathering of eminent people, even though it is not written in their foreheads, even the outsider will ask you, you are from which side? Which part are you? I have seen where people have asked, or that they have replied them that we are one, but that is not true. So the implication is that these people have been stigmatized, they have been labeled as inferior because they do not see them as part of the society. Number two, the institutions of this internal slavery has cast a shadow on inter-community relationship among the people. It has affected socio-economic and political cohesion. I can tell you that even during elections, in fact, candidates that come from this stigmatized group have never been given opportunity to contest, or perhaps when they contest, you see that they will not even be voted for because they do not see them as equal as the other group. They also, like I mentioned, there is an anticipation of resistance and open confrontation, which if not adequately managed by government, it will result in violent conflicts. And conclusively, it is evidently shown that internal slavery among these people is a legacy of the 19th century Imperial Nupe War. The Nupe War ravaged that society, and at the same time attempted to enslave as many as they could to Bida, the headquarters of the Nupe kingdom. But for as many who tried to escape from being captured and they ran away from their ancestral land, they eventually became alien in another man's land. And then they have continued to suffer this intergeneration, segregation, stigmatizations, and all whatnot. So in the 21st century, social exclusions, alienations, and stigmatizations are not only infringements of fundamental human rights, but it's a catalyst to communal conflict. So that is why it is very, very important that these issues be tackled headlong now, because the Sustainable Development Goals focus on reductions of inequality and promotion of peace, justice, and strong institutions. Among the 17 SDGs, there are 2 among them that have focused particularly on these 2 key areas. That is why this has to be tackled. And it is my wish that government tackle this thing head on and get the people involved to fashion out a workable integration mechanism so as to carry these people along, and then so as to avert the impending conflict. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that presentation. It really speaks to me and my work because I've actually recently returned from Nigeria doing research on this very thing you just talked about in different communities, different Nigerian communities, right? From Oyo to Ibadan, Lagos. I've been to about 7 or 8 different Nigerian cities. And part of the reason that Mary and I put together this panel was because there's not enough discourse on this aspect of Nigerian history and the legacies that the 19th century wars and conflicts have on the present, which are still very strong in many places. For example, among the Okun people that you've just described. So we will take questions and comments after Nathaniel's presentation. So I think for the purpose of time and brevity, we'll do that and then do the commentary afterwards, if that's okay. Okay, Nathaniel?
Okay. Hold on, please.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Can you see my face now?
No. Oh,
This is
yeah.
my face.
Now we can.
Sorry, please. I'm attending a workshop, so let me just step out. Okay, thank you. Yeah. My name is Odo Nathaniel John, and I'm a lecturer with Federal University of Kashere. Am I audible enough?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I'll be presenting my paper titled the legacy of the Osu case system in eastern part of Nigeria. Basically, what this paper set out to do is to bring out the legacies of the Osu case system in the eastern part of Nigeria. And this is related to the period of slavery in Nigeria, because we are clear that the eastern part of Nigeria, that is the defunct eastern part of Nigeria, which consists of mainly the Igbo speaking area, talking about Anambra, Enugu, Ebonyi, Abia, and Imo states. They were major sources where slaves were gotten from. So in this era of slavery, so they had, even before the era of the transatlantic slave trade, there was some domestic slavery. Also had a domestic slavery, but there was a marked difference between the domestic slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. And this difference was exhibited in the way these slaves were treated, because in the domestic kind of slavery, the slaves were seen as part and parcel of the household where they belonged to. But in terms of the transatlantic slave trade, they were seen basically as a property that could be used and discarded as they wished. So there were marked differences. And then talking about the Osu system of slavery, I think my paper is almost in line with what the first speaker stated, because we are looking at a stigmatization process or a segregation process that existed. So the Osu, as the name implies, basically he was a property of the gods, because the slave was dedicated to the service of a deity. Then the question is, how were these slaves gotten? In the past, some wealthy men in the society would go and purchase these slaves and then dedicate it to the service of the deity, or it would be victims of warfare. Because in the past, one of the major ways in which slaves were acquired, as Rodney would say, was not through trade, but it was through warfare, banditry, and kidnapping. That was also a means. Then, basically, being that they were dedicated to the gods, they themselves they were seen as taboo. They were taboo. They were not to be related with, to relate with their community, because they were dedicated for the purpose of the gods. And it does not only affect them, it also affected their descendants. Okay, it goes beyond just the slave, but rather it affects the descendants of the slave. So there were certain things in the society that they were not entitled to, because they were discriminated or segregated. So now, how does this relate to our contemporary day society? Because the aim of the paper is to draw a link between that period and today. And despite the fact that the Osuke system was abolished in 1956, that is in the Eastern House of Assembly, the legacy still persisted. And Cheno Achebe described the fate, what these Osu go through in their society in his bestseller novel, No Longer at Ease. He gave a vivid description that, No Longer at Ease is a continuation, I would say, of Things Fall Apart, of which he described the fate of Obi, the community, the Igbo Union, then put money together to send him abroad to England to study. And when he came back home, he came back with an enlightened perspective. And he fell in love with a lady, thinking he was going to marry her. But unfortunately, she said she's Osu, and he never cared. Okay, but the society was against the idea of him marrying her because of this discriminatory tendency that has been there, because they cannot marry free-born. Okay, but he persisted, but still it did not end well. So despite the abolition of this Osuke system in 1956, as I've said, the legacy still continued. And some of the discrimination that these Osu descendants face was in terms of occupying positions. Okay, as the earlier speaker had said before, like in support of Igbo land, they were not given chieftaincy titles. Okay, and also they were not allowed to marry freeborn. But though the law outlaws it, okay, but being that when people want to marry, they carry out investigation on the family the lady is coming from. So definitely they know the history of the family, and they may not want to encourage their children to get married to an Osu. And this also is coming from a spiritual perspective. Okay, from most of the interviews I've carried out in the Southeast, they are saying that this to them it has a spiritual connotation, because they believe that marrying a freeborn, marrying an Osu connotes disaster. So even in things fall apart, despite the fact that Obi's father was a cactus who should uphold the virtues of Christianity that does not discriminate. But we could see that he could not let go of those primordial thoughts. He still kicked against his son getting married to an Osu, despite the fact that Obi also explained to him, or he brought Bible verses to tell him that this is not how it ought to be in Christianity, but he was against it. So, and the law is against it, but people continue to bring this discrimination, right? But also part of my research is that in the recent time, this stigmatization okay, is on the decrease because of exposure and enlightenment. Because in the work in which I carried out, it is unlawful for anyone to refer to anyone in Igbo land as an Osu. It's not allowed. And also they are beginning to engage people irrespective of their background, offering them a chieftaincy title, okay, and also reintegrating them into the wider society. And also in 2018 in Igbo land too, aside that outlawing they did in 1956, okay, the different communities in Igbo land came together and they carried out some rituals, I would say, okay, to make it traditional. Since the Osuke system is also a traditional thing, okay, they carry out some rituals to completely abolish the Osu caste system in the eastern part of Nigeria. So part of my argument here is that stigmatization is on the decrease, and it's not even what society takes lightly for one to be referred to as an Osu person. So I will conclude by saying that there is greater awareness in the society, of which is beginning to close the gap of that stigmatization in the eastern part of Nigeria, basically talking about Igbo land. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Was that audible? Okay.
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
Sorry, please.
No. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting to see some of the similarities and differences between both presentations, like yours and the one before. And before I input my own comments, I would like to ask, I don't know if the people in the audience or Mary, or even Colade, knowing how similar both your researches are, perhaps you have questions or comments for one another. Okay. So if not, you were going to say something, Mary?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think these similarities are there. And if, I don't know, if Dr. Kolade can help us really bring out how this stigmatization is, yes, he has talked about the political, but at the grassroots, how does it really exhibit itself beyond the political? We know the political is always there, but the grassroots, how does it exhibit itself? Yeah, I have other questions later for Nathaniel, but I'll listen to Kolade's answer first.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Within the society, there is a set boundaries, like I mentioned. The boundaries at the grassroots level. First and foremost, even settlement patterns is there. There are certain areas where these stigmatized people settled. And whoever want to put up a structure around that area, in fact, he must find out that where am I going to? That is number one at grassroots level. Though they have the same primary schools, the same secondary school, and it is not written on anybody's forehead, but it is something that is being planted in the minds of the people. That is number one. Number two, the common origin of the people. The common origin of the people, society is also segmented into clans. So within this area, people see themselves as is from this social clan, is from social clan, from social clan. So the stigmatized people do not belong to any clans at all. So that is another thing. So whenever they are having that kind of clans meeting, clans or associations meeting, all those ones, it clearly it will show that God, these are the group for this, and this group are, and also within the grassroots. In fact, there are certain occupation that is given to them. For instance, this locust bean, which Yoruba people call Iru, they are into it. So hardly will you see anybody or any female among this group of people who venture into this art, this craft, without being those segregated or this segmented people. They are known for the productions of Iru, but that is not to mean that people don't buy it. People go and buy, they buy it from them in the market, even from their settlement, they go there to buy. And so in the grassroots, apart from the political landscape, within the grassroots in the community, it has shown itself. And the worst of it, among the Orthodox churches like Catholic and Anglican, in fact, if any of these among them is appointed into prominent positions, in fact, that will be, in fact, there will be strong resistance to it. So to tell you how, even in religion too, they have not also played their part. But it is only in the new generation churches that they will not openly preach against it, but they will talk generally using Bible as a backup to say, well, we know we are one before Christ, this and that. Whoever is giving Baba Egbe as a position, it should. But tactically, they will be they will always be diplomatic about it. But it's shown clearly, like I mentioned in marriage too. It is also very, very important. Not that they are not beautiful, not that they are not handsome, but what has been planted in the minds of both sides for ages is what is still playing now in this contemporary time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answer. You've really gone in depth to show this, and I think there's a lot to it, especially even this economic aspect. We always eat Iru, and it comes from some of these places. We don't know the people that are involved in it. So thank you so much. Yeah, Olu, you can continue.
No, I
Okay,
mean,
I have a question. So,
okay, please go ahead.
okay, thank you, Dr. Kolade. My question is this: from what you've presented or said so far, it seems to me that this stigmatization is currently ongoing. Am I right? It's currently ongoing. Then the question is, what are traditional institutions doing to actually curb this stigmatization? Because from my own research that I've done in Igbo land, I could see that the traditional institution, they made deliberate effort and attempt to see that they stamp this out of their area, the issue of stigmatizing people. So, or is it what families do or people do hidden? I don't know. Or does it receive the support of the traditional institution? So I just want to know what mechanisms have been put in place to actually put an end to this in the 21st century, because I believe research is about profiling solutions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Udo. Beyond the rhetorics of mere preaching, we are one in the public gathering, I doubt it if there is any pragmatic effort from the traditional institutions. Let me state clear here. One, there is a claim of a common ancestor among the people. So and they worship one deity. Secondly, they initiate male children into age grades, and according to them, they have taboos if or if a stranger or an alien is initiated into this. So, and I also mention, family lands are sacred. There is no one who wants to tamper with family lands. So if you want to stop this, first and foremost, you must begin to integrate them. And there's no how you integrate them wholeheartedly into the mainstream of the society without them claiming the same ancestor with them and the deity. Two, they must also be initiated. But these people will not want this to be touched because they said it is a sacred area and sacrosanct. They will not want it to be affected. Family land too. I have ever crack a joke. Somebody now say, okay, why can't you just say that part of this family land should be carved out for them, this and that? And I said, no, that is in the spirit of oneness now. But if you ask me, there is no traditional, there is no concrete effort, or there is no proactive effort from the traditional institutions. Though the educated elites, you see, they interact beyond this. They talk among themselves. They have social clubs, etc.
Let's hope he comes back on, I think.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. You cut out for a minute.
Hello?
Yes. Now we can hear you. Now we can.
Sorry. Like I mentioned, I say when they come back, when they return back to the community, everybody knows his or her father's house. That is just it. But they may meet outside Nigeria, meet in Abuja, meet in Port Harcourt. They eat and dine together. But when they return home, everybody knows his or father's family.
If I can follow up on that, because this is very, very interesting for me. The theme of the workshop, of the panel is, well, the legacies of slavery. And from what you were saying earlier about the movement of these people from, you didn't even quite say where they used to be located, but they are broadly in the area today known as Northeastern Yoruba land, and they fled because of the Nupe invasion to present-day Kogi State. Or did I misunderstand?
Yes, you misunderstand.
Okay.
They live in different communities within the northeastern Yoruba land. For instance, if you have ever traveled along that line, that's Kogi West Senatorial District, you will see about 6 to 7 sub-Yoruba dialects. But when Nupe War came in or started, people were moving from one community to another. And those who were displaced from their ancestral land and could not go back to their community, they are the ones that are affected with this stigmatization. For instance, I'll start example, like I mentioned, if you travel from Kaba to places called Ayetorogbede, from Ayetorogbede, you go to Mopa to Isanlu to Egbe. Then we've also traveled along the same Kaba to the west side. As if you are going to Ekiti, you go through Yara, you go through Ekiriade before you get to the boundary with Ekiti State or Ondo State. So those ones, even though they speak Okun dialect, but there's little variations and they do not have common ancestors. So if as Nupe war hit these people, you could see people from that ran away from maybe Sanlu to Kaba, people who ran away from Kaba to maybe Iyara, from people who ran away from Iyara, moved to Ayetoro, all those communities, they are the ones that are affected, and that is what we are saying in this context. Not that they migrated from a distant place, but there was a kind of mass movement, displacement within the same vicinity. And these communities, they hold on to their traditional institutions, which they will not want to part with. Some are still very, very strong. In fact, recently, one of the communities celebrated Oro Festival. And this Oro Festival is very, very strong, in which women are not even allowed to come out for a whole day. And then, so you could see, if it can still be strong in this 21st century, only God knows what it would have been around 19th century. Are you getting what I'm saying? So it's not that they migrated from other states or they migrated, but within the same northeastern Yoruba land.
Okay. My question then was going to be how they became associated with slavery. Because when you were talking earlier, you used the word freeborn and non-freeborn people. So if they were, so were they, and this is to broadly answer the concept of slavery among Yoruba people, like what does the concept of slavery mean? Were these people ever actually enslaved, or was the movement from their initial, what do you call it, primordial lands to another place where they're now strangers? Is it their strangeness that now gives them this tag of slavery?
Yes, yes, is that strange land that actually made them to be alien, and for the fact that they are not part of them, they do not see them as part of the community, and they tag them to be slaves. They tag them to be slaves. They also, like I mentioned, when they got there seeking for refuge, one, they have to attach themselves to some of these wealthy ones for them to be protected. That is number one. Two, they themselves too were also doing many jobs for them to survive. Three, there is what we call social inequality. There are certain things that, certain privileges that they were not privy to. So those privileges that they were not privy to is, for instance, that festival that I mentioned now, any day they are going to do that festival, they are to remain indoor. They cannot come out because they do not see them as part of it. So it's not that they were conquered and enslaved, but for being strange in a foreign land within the vicinities, that is what has given them that. So sorry that the freeborn and the not freeborn of a thing came in the sense that since they are not part of them, they do not see them as. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I do. And it's very interesting for the definition of slavery and, the mechanisms of enslavement. I think this is very fascinating. I'll send you an email later because I'm very interested in this topic for my own work as well. But I want to ask also, I saw, Mary, you unmuted yourself. So let me give you a chance to say something.
Sorry, not much. Just wanted to add to what you were saying. As he clearly explained now, it adds to what we have been talking about in our group, the manner in which people enter slavery.
Yes.
Now, it's not like he said, they weren't conquered, but because of their vulnerability, they had to subject themselves. So that made those who are in power to now oppress them. So it's another way of looking at it. It's very, very interesting.
It's very interesting and very important because this is not an aspect of enslavement that I think is very well understood or studied. It's very important. I want to ask about contemporary mechanisms of mobilization, because you talked about the impact of education, right? That many people move away from these communities or go to school, marry outside the communities to avoid some of this stigmatization and so on. Within these oppressed, to use that language, these oppressed communities, are there groups or means of mobilization against the sort of hegemonic dominant culture is there a recognition of themselves as a class that is oppressed by a majority culture? And are there attempts to sort of protest, or, you know, I mean concerted attempts, not individual attempts of moving away or, you know, or trying to better your own personal circumstances, but as a class, is there sort of recognition or mobilization to change the communal fortune of the people living in this place?
Well, they have made several efforts.
Mm.
They have made several efforts, and it has not yielded the desired results. Like I mentioned, they have well to do. I try as much as possible not to mention names, not to also give positions where that they have occupied, but they have gone far as Nigerian politics is concerned, or Nigerian society, and especially when we're talking of wealth, it is in their hands now, and when they're also talking of influence, they also have it. Power, they have it, but the problem there now is that the attempt for them to challenge the status quo, directly or indirectly, there's not even a platform. That is number one. When I listen to Dr. Udo and the background research I've also made, I noticed that even in Osu, it is not lawful for anybody to call anybody Osu again. It's not possible because they have challenged that severally in the court. But this one, such has never happened because even though there is stigmatizations, they have not called anybody any derogatory name at all. If your name is Kolade, your name is Kolade. If your name is Olubiyo, your name is Olubiyo. But within the society, there is a borderline as far as social-cultural practice is concerned. That's it. So them, not that they do not have social clubs or organizations where they meet as an oppressive class, but we have not seen a physical way which they have challenged the status quo. For instance, the festival that just occurred not quite long, you have been told not to come out, that is a taboo. So definitely, if you are an oppressive class in that community, so definitely you remain indoor because you were told that if you come out, there is a consequence, and there's going to be a taboo. So in that case, they remain indoor. So that is it. But I foresee problem. For how long will they be able to continue with this? Because things are changing fast. Like I mentioned, education, technology, civilization, and all those ones. Will they be able to hold on to this for long? What should government do to see that this status quo is broken? This tradition is broken in such a way that they forget about these traditions and see themselves as completely one and remove all these barriers. So that is where I want, though this community is supposed to kickstart, because I don't expect government to come and impose it on them, but the communities, are they ready? Or is it only one side that is ready to do that one, while the other group is not ready? So these are the issues that they still need further interrogation.
Nathaniel, you can ask your question.
Yes, Doctor, I find your topic very interesting. I'm trying to play this thing from my head. Maybe I don't really get it. In terms of the conceptualization of slavery in your paper, I don't know. Could we still refer to them as? I mean, does he really subscribe into that concept of who a slave is? It's not more or less like oppression, I think. I don't know. Or because I'm just trying to look at conceptualize the concept of who a slave is, because we know that slavery was an institution in Africa. It was an institution in Africa in which people were bought. They were bought and then they were sold. So in this your own case now, I don't think there was any form of buying or selling or conquest or what have you. It seems like to be a system of, let's say, settler and then non-settlers, or indigene versus non-indigene. That is the indigenes, or the so-called son of the soil, right? Oppressing those who are not sons of the soil. I don't know, does it fit into the conceptualization of slave as an institution? So that was the clarification I just needed to get. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Udo. You know, we cannot divorce slavery institution from social inequality. I think maybe you need to know that slaves, whether bought, whether acquired, whether conquered, as far as we're concerned, provided if somebody has assumed the status of slaves, there is what we call social inequality. In this context, whether they are settlers, not settlers, alien and indigenes, one is already oppressed. That is one. One is already marginalized. One is not integrated into the society they claim, because they are already claiming the place where they have spent over 100 years. It's more than a century. They are already there, so they are not equal. Within the context of social inequality, that is where I am coming from. So to me, slavery institutions, even though we have it in Africa in the pre-colonial period, this context we are discussing have similarity. The Osu themselves too, I'm not sure whether they were conquered or they were acquired, but from the research that I did, I heard that it is one of the ancestors that have offered himself as a sacrifice for to a god. And when that one has happened, then the people are saying, told, they are stigmatized because their ancestors have offered himself for a community. So to me, that ancestor has even do the community good more than the harm. But today, they are victims of what we call this slavery of a thing. So the way Amala, this slavery institutions was done in Africa vary from place to place. There are some that have silent over it and that has never talked about it, but it remains in their mind. And I doubt it if they will voice out. Thank you, Dr. Udo.
Okay, any more questions, comments? If not, I want to say thank you very much to both our presenters, well, to all three of our presenters. We didn't forget you, Mary. Well, not you, Mary, but the other Mary Owolabi. So thank you very much. And just on a final note of departure, I think this discourse that we're having is very important for the definitional problems that have always accompanied the concept of slavery in African history, right? The last question you asked, and Kolade's answer to it, showing that there needs to be an ongoing debate about how we define slavery in
Yes.
African societies
Yeah.
and African communities. The question of entry, how people enter into slavery, the question of exit, right? Is there a possibility of exit, right? And to what extent is it, is it possible? Is it foreseeable for enslaved people? Also, the question of perception, right? Of the perception of the community towards this person and that person's self-perception. Do they see themselves as enslaved? Or is it that they don't see themselves as enslaved, but the community they're in see them, as enslaved? So there are so many definitional, conceptual problems that arise when we talk about slavery in Africa and specifically in Nigeria today, which is what motivated us to propose this panel. And I say it has been very productive. I want to continue this conversation. We hope you're there tomorrow, where other people will give even more examples of the continuities and the legacies of slavery in contemporary Nigeria. And this is an aspect that we very much believe is understudied, in the current academic climate and in the current Nigerian academic climate. So I say a very big thank you for heeding our call and submitting your wonderful abstracts and even being here today. Mary and I think I speak for her when we say we are very enriched, and it's our privilege to be able to host you today. So you have one final comment, Nathaniel, before we close?
Yeah, thank you very much to both of you for organizing this panel and giving us the chance to also present some of our findings. So we do hope for future collaborations, maybe if there are opportunities for publications or there are other opportunities that we now in the global south, because we are in dire need of mentorship from the global north, at least to keep in tune with trends in research. So we'll be grateful if we can still keep in touch in the future. Thank you very much.
Yes, definitely. So I would use this opportunity to say bye-bye, and see you tomorrow. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.